Hello and welcome back to the Chromecast of the Rising Moon. My name is Elaine, and on this channel I do Spirit Guide Monthly, live every last Friday of the month. I hope you're able to join me, but I also do this, I do pick a card readings. And today's pick a card reading is advice from future you. Advice from your future self. Your future self is your higher self. Your higher self exists outside of the flow of time and can see things from a greater perspective. So we're getting some advice from you at a different point to help you in your journey right now. There are 4 piles. There's going to be a close-up on the cards. You can sit and meditate with them for as long as it takes to see which one calls out to you. That's the message you're most meant to receive. Let's go, and I will see you at the time of your reading. Welcome back. If you pick pile number 1, then this is your reading. I'm putting the number 1 over there so people can easily fast forward to their readings, but there are timestamps in the description box down below. Mystical Moments Tarot is bringing us a predictive spread. We've got some pre-selected oracle cards. I'll draw other oracle cards depending on what the nature of this advice is. This is advice from future you. Hey, before I get started, please don't forget to subscribe. It helps my channel. If you like the reading, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to book me for a private reading, there's a link to my website in the description box down below. The oracle of the mystical moments is weaving flowers. And then I have forget-me-not, remembrance, memories and the past hold the key. When we're told to release the past, it is after we've done our shadow work, after we understand how it has influenced our personality, our choices, our fears, and our choices in the here and now. Even if you've been recovering from something, that is not the same thing as saying, I release the past and my treasured memories. After you've healed things, you can usually go back and sort out the good from the bad. And weaving flowers is basically exactly that, finding the beauty in the fabric of life and weaving together your experiences to weigh them out, not just for the work that they've given to you and the lessons that they've given to you, but also the ways that you can identify that which makes you most joyful. I tell people a lot of the time that to go back to about the age they were 9, and what you really were interested in then contains a lot of the seeds for your passion and your bliss in your adult life. I have release control, surrendering to the journey. Surrender is such a hard concept, but it really is that if you can lean into the idea that you're not alone in this journey, and your future self apparently wants you to know, there is still worth in the past, particularly if you have been trying to find answers about things that have happened in the past. There is still worth in the past. Don't discard everything joyful and bright and all of the things that you enjoyed about your former self. Embrace them, heal them, and reclaim them. I have the release control. Boy, that's an anxiety function so very often. And all that your future self is telling you here is please examine your relationship to needing to find out what's coming up. Because it can be like a way of soothing anxiety. It can be perpetuating a problem rather than solving it. Once we're healed, we really trust in our ability to meet day-to-day problems and obstacles and challenges. It doesn't mean you can't ever get future advice. It's just differentiate between the two. Are you seeking answers because you feel like you need like your next assignment at every turn? Being self-actualized, being in union, being in conjunction with your highest self is the thing that allows you to continue to evolve spiritually. I have the void, which is dark moon. That's a new moon energy. It's the start of something new. It's also turning within. It's also one of the energies that tells you you may have a little bit of shadow work to do around what really causes anxiety and stress in your life. The need to control outcomes is not actually surrendering. Know your truth. And then I have macaw. Think laterally to solve a problem. Apparently, there may be something that is like you're struggling with something. It could be finding enjoyment in life. It could be like finding worth in the pace of this path. Because surrender is the biggest thing that's being advised here. I have the 8 of Wands, which is a card of progress. It's also a card of communication. It's journeying, sometimes over water. It's one of my favorite cards in the tarot deck, simply because it's things happening quickly, developments coming in swiftly. You have some things coming up in your future that are going to make you want to release the pain from the past, but find basically the worth in it. There's a great deal of worth in your journey, and even if you've like reached a different chapter in your life where you've released old relationships or old view to self or old relationship to self, there are still like building blocks and clues about how to be very happy in the here and now, based in not the relationships that made you happy, but the aspects of life that made you happy. I have the Ten of Wands in reverse. That's a releasing card as well. I have the Five of Wands in reverse, which is literally giving up a struggle. It's a good surrender card. That might be one of your biggest challenges with the Knight of Wands in the upright. I feel like you don't feel like you're safe unless you're doing something. Like if like lulls bother you and your future self is telling you, please try to find more value in the lulls in life, you're frittering away experience trying to get to the next experience and get to the next experience. Life isn't a checklist of chores to be accomplished. It's experience to have and to value. And sometimes even our more difficult experiences have a great deal of worth in them. Now, usually in retrospect, and like never put pressure on yourself to like find the hidden meaning and joy and positive attributes in something until you're ready. And never let a spiritual worker like kind of pressure you into that without meaning to. Sometimes we put a lot of pressure on people who are just reacting from a place of pain rather than being worn into a groove of being reactive. We really do have to process and heal our pain, understand it in order to release it. Six of Pentacles is living in a balanced state as well. I have the Moon in the upright, which is confusion. Wheel of Fortune in reverse. I have the Ten of Pentacles in the upright, and then I have the Queen of Wands in the upright. I'm taking 9 because 9 is one of the numbers for basically individuality. It's also one of the numbers for reliance on self, and it's also one of the numbers about connecting to spirit self. Know your truth. You are struggling with finding a way to relax about the pace of things. Like your spiritual connection goes up and down. Like there are days where, and your future self is telling you, you finding worth in your downtime is one of the things that will give you a better relationship to basically all things good in life. You are valuing your experience just a little bit too much by what have I gotten done. Your future self wants you to know that you're not looking at it this way, but every single day is something that can never come again, not in exactly the same form. And in trying to get to the next point constantly, because you want, it's security. It's security that you want more than anything because you want to feel safe. You are safe. Remember that part. If you've surrendered to a divine journey, we have adversity. I accept that challenges are the best way to learn. It is something that gives you, and then I have abundance. All right. I'm a limitless being and I can manifest whatever I desire in the physical reality. Group number 1, you're going to need to do just a little bit of work on connecting basically to your past again, but it's for a different reason. It's like going back, think that laterally to solve a problem. I don't think you always had this issue. I don't think you always had the issue of never being able to stand down. This is someone who's in perpetual motion as well, always going forward. The wands are about fire. They're about action. Weaving flowers, you're struggling so much with that. Like you're always preparing yourself. You're always trying to prepare yourself. You can't let yourself relax until you've gotten everything taken care of. You're struggling a lot with that weaving flowers energy, finding this journey as being worthwhile in the actual journey. This is a card of journeying. This is a card of journeying. This is a card of like life partners and security. It's also a card of like investment. And then the Queen of Wands, of course, is a very compelling figure. Now, can that be fire sign energy, Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius? Yes, it can. But it's really about somebody who has her own commanding presence and believes in her own ability to like kind of get done whatever the task at hand is calling for. Let's get a fortune reading card as well. Your future self is telling you, and it's not a warning, it's a reminder that like you can't sustain an energy for very long. You can't. It's like you can't chill. You're struggling with the need to chill out and try to like find enjoyment in life. Like, believe it or not, it kind of looks like the moon. I'm not laughing. I'm a little bit baffled about how to handle this, because what it looks like is that you treat, and your future self is saying basically, you're treating your journey as a job. You're treating your journey as a job. And so when you get these, like, you know, do your shadow work, and you've done a lot of your shadow work, I think you've actually resolved a lot of it, but like you've taken like something just this little tiny step too far, in that you've released a little bit too much of who you are in order to try and really focus on what you believe your responsibilities are. And you're just struggling with finding the way to enjoy a journey. I have your surroundings will undergo a transition. It's apparently helicopter chase day here outside of LA. Winds of change. I'm going to pause for a second until like whatever the battalion manages to fly by. Winds of change, your surroundings will undergo a transition. This is a card of moving as well. I've got so many movement cards here. I want one more on this. The talisman, you are destined to succeed. I think you get that message all the frickin' time with this abundance card. And your need to constantly be going forward is one of the things that causes it to be difficult for the universe to help you put down the roots that you're so interested in with this moon card. Like the parts of yourself that you left behind, you felt secure in the wrong situations. You felt secure in the wrong situations. And when those left your life, whether it was a job or a relationship, you focused on constant effort. You've gotten the message before over and over again, and your future self is like just trying over and over again to remind you that the part of you that was joyful and hopeful about the future in the past was not foolish. Your shadow work was not in, like, you've never been being, when you've been hearing a lot about inner child work and formative damage and healing your shadow self, that has nothing to do with like, hey, you need to grow up and be responsible. The way you viewed the world in the past, it still has a place. Like there every single day could bring the development of something beautiful. This weaving of flowers, remember, tapestries weave together. We have adversity and abundance. For everything that has been difficult, for everything that has caused you to, like, I feel compressed. You're having such a hard time investing in this because you keep expecting something to arrive. You keep expecting something to arrive that will allow you to enjoy life. And your future self is saying, listen, you don't need to be as frightened as you often are with "you are destined to succeed." But your ability to enjoy life is not going to arrive. It is something for you to reclaim. And it is something from the past. Your ability to view the future as a hopeful construct. Your idea of abundance is too like bank account centered sometimes. It's just too bank account centered sometimes. Abundance is happiness. It's joy. It's celebration of life as well. Key, new beginnings, directions, and adventures await for those ready to let go of the past. Your past is serving a different function. It's not that you're being asked to release it. Your future self is just trying to tell you that let go of the appropriate parts of the past. Forget-me-not, memories and the past hold the key, and then we have the key. Let go of the parts of yourself that were held back by a lack of belief in self. But reclaim the parts of yourself that before you really learned how to practice more self-love, you liked things about yourself. Because you had to go on a journey to learn different things, it kind of looks like you're just leaving a little bit too much of yourself behind. That's all. That's all we've got here, that like because you're wondering how you're going to be happier. You might be somebody who's like, okay, no, I'm fine with this is my journey. I'm the person, ultimately, I'm the only person who truly makes me happy. Other people can come along and add to that. When I love somebody, I'm responding to them with the love that is in me rather than the love that they are giving me. Like nobody ever actually makes you feel loved either. You respond to somebody with a feeling of love, and whether it's friend or family or just enjoyment of life. There is this key in the past that in order to heal, it's just that you've let go of just a little bit too much of who you were in the past. We have the vessel. My talents, skills, hobbies, relationships, passions, and strengths are things that define me. My body is the vessel that contains these wonderful attributes, and to that I am grateful. You've done the work on the past self. You've done the work. But it's strange. It's like you think the lesson that you're meant to learn is do the work, and then I maybe you just heard release a past version of yourself one too many times or something. You've done the work, but apparently you can't figure out how to your future self is saying the keys to your happiness is actually with your past self, the part of you that was hopeful. And there's this weird feeling that the part of you that was hopeful became targeted. There's a very targeted energy with this and this. You're very confused about how to relax and find enjoyment. Whenever you hear that you're destined to succeed, for you it translates into, well, that must mean money. And it does mean money. But remember, your future self is also open up to a new definition of what security is. Open up to the idea that the parts of yourself that you took a lot of work to heal. Think laterally to solve a problem. The flow of time is not really linear. Part of your shadow work is not shadow work at all. It's reclamation of light from a past self. And why is that important? Because when we talk about an inner child, that is the part of you that is effortlessly connected to the flow of time, to the idea of divine source. Kids always have these great imaginations. And it's because they don't question what is possible as much. And part of what makes connection to a divine source and to divine self and coming into true union difficult is that as adults, sometimes we absorb these messages about practicality and responsibility that make it seem like it is ill-advised to hang on to dreams. You just need a slightly better balance in your life again. And you hear this a lot and you're like, my gosh, what more can I do? And if you can just like adjust the dial in your mind about how you're viewing the idea of being told to enjoy your life, because you kind of view it as like another assignment, an adversity, something to overcome, something to get like out of your path. Know your truth. Maybe part of what is keeping you from being fully satisfied in your life is the way that you have been viewing life and the people around you. We have, oh well, the well isn't worth anything without the bucket. If you knew better, you'd say, screw it. And then I have end of a toxic karmic cycle. Remember, this particular energy is really about surrendering. Like, I give in, just screw it, whatever, everything's fine. You cannot change the past, but there are always, it's like you can mine it for diamonds. You can mine it for, after you have cleared away the pain, the hurt, the trauma, there is still an element of core self. Like, even if you invested in the wrong relationships, even if you had a damaged view of self, there was a core element of you that is not meant to be healed, it's meant to be reclaimed. And then I've got, you better not let it slide, not another time. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm genuinely not sure what's going on with this, other than, for me, there's like this energy of you put off the idea that life is a celebration until you have like more. And life is a celebration no matter what you have. If you're unable to find joy in your life unless it involves stuff or money or the act of being alive and being witness to this existence, is what your higher self is trying to ask you to please reconnect with. It's something about the past disappointments are still coloring the way you see the future. And you might not think of it that way, but that's how it feels to you. Is that it's like you do everything you're asked to. You do everything you're asked to, but it isn't because you feel a connection to the divine. It's because you just want to get the stuff done that you're supposed to get done. And so you can stop. If you cannot find the joyful part of yourself, there is not going to come a point in time where you will relax and enjoy life, because you have been viewing, you're just a little bit confused about the role of what your life is meant to be expressing. And your higher self is trying to tell you, all the stuff that you worry about is not something you need to worry about. Your success is coming to you. Your abundance is coming to you. You've heard it a lot, and like you really have this, okay, sure, I believe you. I'll just keep doing what I'm asked. But you don't actually invest in it in a joyful, happy, oh my gosh, everything's going to be wonderful way. You invest in it in a, what do I need to do now to bring about this abundance that will finally allow me to relax? And it's contained in the hopeful part of you that you have left behind too much. This forget-me-not, I think it has to do with like mistakes that you think you made in the past. And were they mistakes? Listen, it's really hard, because is there really any such thing as a mistake if it can provide the opportunity to learn and to grow and to expand and to evolve? Well, kind of sure, because sometimes we make things a little bit more difficult on ourselves than we need to. And the role of recognizing something as a mistake is so that you can spot red flags and warning signs before they begin to develop into that, like that true adversity rather than a mild lesson. And your higher self is just trying to tell you, will you please think about your past a little differently now? The keys to your happiness are in the past, because you had a lot of hope that you were going to get everything you ever wanted. And because it turned out differently, you don't think it can happen. And so whenever you're told to keep going, you go, like, you really just are like, well, there is this kind of make-do energy. And your higher self is saying that, like, it's not holding up anything. It's just that if you would allow yourself to, in the here and now, you could simply have more joy. You could simply have more joy if you would allow yourself to think of the past in the ways that it made you happy, in the things that kind of lit you up and made you dream. And, you know, like, let's say that you invested in the wrong relationship, and so now, like, maybe you're not investing in the idea of love at all, because you think it was the love that caused the damage, and it isn't. It was just that it was the wrong person. And the lessons that you were asked to learn were not about, like, you know, you got to stand alone forever, but rather so that you can have better outcomes going forward. This is why you need to learn the lesson. But you're viewing, like, your past. You're viewing your past in a way about, like, discarding it as the person who didn't know better, and those dreams were foolish or something. Your higher self, the message from your higher self, from future you, is quite simply that the success that you're so worried about is coming to you. If you could please find a way to just get up and look for what might be happy in both your past, which will then help you look forward with a hopeful eye as well. Because you've become very wary. You've become very wary. And again, that's that need to control. Please try to accept that everything is happening for a reason. Apparently they caught the person that they were chasing with an overhead helicopter. I actually don't live on a highway. It's just that I have to have the windows open in the summer, and so I can hear noise from a busy road not very far away. As I was trying to say is, you are really struggling with how to find the concept of enjoying life. And it is in this past that you keep trying to discard as a bunch of mistakes from which you were meant to learn. There are things that you were meant to learn, but you're closing yourself off to that person as having, and there's seeds there. There's seeds there. Also, the perpetual motion thing that you have going on, well, what's next, and you're always planning what to do next. You really have a hard time just being. And you didn't used to struggle with it as much as you do now. Please go over your memories again and like, think about the good things. Think about the times you were happiest, what was really filling your heart and your mind. And I really do, for the sake of this, because it really is about relationship to self, think about those times and not involving, like, don't forget you. Not involving, I was happy because I thought I was in love. I was happy because I thought this would happen. It wasn't about what was about to happen. It was what was happening within you, which was the act of being hopeful about the future. And your past does contain that. But the way that you view your past now is like an injury. Like, if I poke it, it'll hurt. And please try and go back to and find your happy memories to kind of reclaim the part of yourself that you have. Instead of trying to heal something, you've been trying to excise it. You healed all that trauma. Go back and find the person who was so hopeful despite being in all that pain. Because that person knew how to be joyful. and you still struggle with that. It's still just a struggle for you. Everything you're hoping for in a material sense is coming to you. But your struggle with enjoying life, it's like you treat it like it's a science experiment. What ingredient do I need to add now? And it's like you've lost your fire. That Queen of Wands energy, if you can just find a way to accept how safe and secure you are and are becoming, you may find your joy more easy to reclaim. Your message from your future self is your past self understood things about enjoying life, and there is worth in finding that. We're never meant to live in the past, but try to remember the things that made you happiest, because they still have some information for you and you're just having a little trouble accessing it. All right, group number 1, that was your message. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 2, then this is your reading. We're putting number 2 over there. There will be timestamps in the description box down below, but I put the numbers over there so that people can fast forward to their piles very easily. We've got the Tarot of Mystical Moments bringing us a predictive spread on all the piles. I shuffled extensively off camera. We've got some pre-selected oracle cards. Hey, before I get started, don't forget to subscribe, please. It helps my channel. If you like the reading, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And if you want to book me for a private reading, there's a link to my website in the description box down below. This is the Oracle of Mystical Moments. Transformations, things that are changing. This is messages from future you. And it's supposed to be to kind of give you some good advice. Optimism. Look up and look brightly. I wonder if we're going to have a slight theme here again. I have embracing enthusiasm. Shout to the heavens with happiness. Happiness, optimism, transformation. Boy, like the first thing that's coming through is that like you stopped investing in this, but you're on the cusp of being so much happier. And like sometimes you can kind of feel it poking through, you know? Like sometimes being happy is effortless again. I have acceptance, okay? This is accepting. It can be divine love, it can be divine guidance, it can be, it's got the number 4 on it, which is one of the numbers for stability. Boy, like you don't like to get your hopes up any longer. You just don't. We have set your intentions. There's a struggle with surrender around how to accomplish it and still be happy and optimistic. Because for you, surrender is like, well, they're just going to do whatever they want. All right, we have adapt to place and circumstances to discover happiness and contentment. Your future self wants you to know that your happiness is returning to you. And the ways that, like, it's almost like you get nervous when you're happy now. Like, if you, like, I used to be married to somebody who emotionally abused me just constantly. It was fairly hideous. And if I was happy, I learned not to show when I was happy, because that was when he was likely to behave the worst. If I was happy and he wasn't the person creating it, like a lot of narcissistic abusers, like he would punish me for that. And I've got that weird energy around this. You seem to have, like, remember, it's safe for you to be happy. It was never the divine, like, punishing you. If my circumstances are, like, matching yours, it was never the divine punishing you for being happy. It was likely somebody who was either taking their pain out on you and didn't wish to see you happy, and so they would try to pop your balloon. Or it was just kind of this struggle with the idea, like you feel like if you relax, that means that like you could get sucker punched. Your future self is saying so much that is coming towards you is all about optimism and happiness and increase and growth and joy. All right, I have the Emperor in the upright, which is the card for the astrological sign Aries. It is also the card of like the wisdom of Solomon, being wise, being in control. The Emperor is a good ruler. It can be about self-rule. I have the Hierophant in reverse, which is kind of releasing highly structured things. Like in the card in the upright, it's the card for Tauruses, but it's also the card of like patriarchal structures, traditionalism, traditional marriage, traditional everything, traditional. This is saying that you've learned more and more to have less rigid expectations around what's supposed to happen and when. Seven of Swords in reverse, it's a clarity card. It's a coming back to self card as well. The Sun in the upright, that's the good vibes and positivity. Six of Cups in reverse, okay. Two of Swords in the upright. I have the Two of Wands in the upright. I have the King of Pentacles in reverse, and then I have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse as well. I took 9 cards because it's the cards of individual power. This is one of the happiest cards in the deck, and this is a card of like feeling insecure. You struggle with simply allowing yourself to be happy, allowing yourself to view essentially the future as a bright and happy place. And future you is telling you you've learned all these lessons. You adapt very easily now. Yeah, you adapt very easily because this is a card of adapting as well. You've recognized the temporary quality of difficulties with that Seven of Swords in reverse. You know that a lot of things, like you have more power, you have the ability to address your challenges. This is a card of choices as well. Like this is the thing, it's a relationship from the past or to the past that just kind of holds you back too much. And the future you is just, it's a reminder that everything around you is transforming. The things that, like, when you get happy about something, like, there's a part of you that tries to, like, squash it. Set your intentions. There's a part of you that braces for, like, a backswing on something. And you're not thinking about it, but, like, your future self is saying, please, like, accept where that came from. It was either within your childhood or it was in, like, adult relationships. It's not part of your personality. It is one of the ways in which you are still conditioned. This is a card of conditioning and breaking through that as well, because the traditionalism card is about, how we are programmed, sometimes by our upbringing, sometimes by society. And you are struggling with embracing this energy because, like, this counterbalancing energy is like it's almost like a cringing. Like when you feel really happy, there's a part of you that, like, it, starts to shield yourself. Mutual love. Love is seeking me just as I'm seeking it, just as my love swoons and bursts into wondrous colors and lights. The love that is seeking me is also infinite. The love that I put into the world will circle back to me. And then I have strength and food. Food provides me with the strength to move through each day. I listen to my body, what it wants and needs, and those signals are ever changing. Feeding my body is a powerful connection with nature. There's something going on where you need to watch, like, your stress level for your health. And remember, I don't have the world's best relationship to food because I just don't. Some people don't eat well when they're stressed. I've always been that person. And I have to, like, kind of go jump through hoops sometimes to make sure that I'm finding food that I enjoy versus just treating it as a chore that I have to eat. And it's because, food is meant to be a celebration. It's not supposed to be an obligation. There is this energy around, there's something here. There's something here where you either you struggle with being happy because there's something that makes you put your guard up when you are. It's a card of being very guarded. It appears to be something from the past. If you are currently in a relationship, it appears to be something from your formative experience is still having, like, too much of an influence on how you view everyday life. Busy and distracted. if your future self, this is like such a clear message. Will you please try to accept that everything good is actually still possible? That even if it's been a difficult journey, it doesn't mean it will be difficult for the rest of time. If you're currently alone, it doesn't mean you will be alone for the rest of time. And it doesn't mean that there's no such thing as love if you had, like, the type of relationship I was describing, where, like, that person didn't love me at all. And, like, I really had to accept that. They're not capable of love, and so I have not been loved. And that doesn't mean that love doesn't exist, though. This mutual love, maybe that's why that's coming through, is that if you are in a relationship, either in your childhood or you were bullied or it was a romantic relationship in which you when you got happy, it wasn't safe. Like, people would pick on you, or because that's what happened to me. That doesn't mean happiness is perilous. And if that was your experience with relationships, you haven't actually experienced love yet. And your future self wants you to understand that it's a form of emotional dysfunction, and that it was something that you had to heal from. And it's not a judgment, you just had things to learn. We all do. Try to accept that, like, there's still happiness to be found in this world, in some of the things that you used to value. And if somebody, like, put effort into taking that away from you, what your future self wants you to know is that's where your efforts should be focused. Set your intentions on reclaiming the ability to be hopeful, the ability to be hopeful about relationships and life and love and happiness. We have runner, new love, messages from spirit. Open up. There's this runner and chaser dynamic that happens, and it's frequently assigned to twin flames, but it's also one of the energies within codependency. Chasers are codependent, runners have a fear of intimacy, and sometimes what this is somebody who's primed to be a runner. Like, being afraid of happiness is a form of fearing intimacy. We are meant to connect with one another. This mutual love energy, it's odd. It's almost like what I'm picking up is that you started to, contentment is not happiness. Contentment is, like, your needs are met and, like, you're not actively, remember, joy has a place in your life. And if somebody hurt you on purpose, in the way that I'm describing, because this is the thing that's bothering me. That's a difficult relationship from the past, sometimes in childhood. If somebody, like, was punishing to you around the idea of you being happy without them, like, approving of you being happy, if you're, like, because when you're involved with a narcissist, like, if you're having a mood that they're, like, not sharing, then they resent you for it. If you're happy and they're not, they will like, sabotage that. That's not what love relationships are. And it's not a personal judgment to say, well, if you didn't have relationships that worked out in the past, basically you've really experienced more kind of emotional dysfunction than you have real love. There's still love in this world. We have guilt. I release any beliefs that no longer assist in my soul's growth. That's what it is. It's like there's something that comes up in your mind whenever you're happy that's almost like you feel guilty and you don't realize it's a programmed response. This is interesting. I must have just picked that up. Know your truth. Where'd that guy come from? Freedom. I possess the power and the free will to create my own happiness and trust. I accept that my inner voice will always guide me correctly. Listen, if it didn't in the past, remember that was just because you were healing. The message from your future self is, like, maybe, like, try to relax into the idea that there is no, like, inherent peril in being happy, that you can imagine your life as a joyful experience, and it doesn't imperil you. You're really struggling with something around that. We have 1 and 2. Sorry about that. I had to try and clear a notification. As usual, it kind of turned off my camera. But there's something around that where you block out things, like you get happy. Something from the past causes you to block out things, and your choices around that are like to temper your expectations, and you don't understand that it's almost like it's the shield you're holding up. You hold up a shield just a little bit too much in how you experience life. And when you're with other people, like your boundaries are good now, but it's almost as if your boundaries filter everything. Like you never have an unfiltered experience any longer. You're wary. You're wary. You're just wary around people. Yeah. Real love, another one, huh? Multiple streams of income, and then opportunity with message, which is you will get approval for something very dear to your heart. Listen, like this is Teacher's Deck, by the way. There's going to be a link in the description box down below if you wish to purchase it. I don't get anything. If you do, I just really, really enjoy it because it's a little bit different than other Oracle decks, and I found it very, very valuable. There is something around mutual love and real love and opportunities that are coming to you, and the way that you react to increase in a personal sense is to like recoil, because you're expecting something, and what you're expecting is, I'm not going to say punishment exactly, but you're expecting something that is less than positive. Like when you get happy, there's like a part of you, like your shadow self is still there, because your shadow self like sends out warning signs and like red flags. When you get too happy about something, there's like a part of you that's like, don't get your hopes up. Remember what happened last time. And that's not, it is good to have hope in all things versus just one thing. That's what the peril in getting your hopes up about something is. You can get your hopes up as much as you want. It's just that if it doesn't work out, then you would, kind of simply, when you're truly in flow with your divine self, you would accept it's because something else is meant to work out for me. Like that sense of disappointment that you're trying to guard against isn't there when you're really in flow. All right, we have Devil. Take care immediately to avoid temptation and deceit. With Wish, your heart's desire is ready to come true. Plain, a journey is indicated either physically or metaphorically. Your life will become more full. The take care immediately to avoid temptation and deceit. I swear I have this weird energy around this Two of Swords is blocking things out. Like everything is going to be very, very lovely. But you're diminishing it with the approach that you're taking. And you're not being insulted, and you're not being told, yeah, you're doing it wrong again. But what you're being told is, will you please examine, like your future self is saying, please examine why it is that you think being happy is dangerous. Why it is that, like, if you get hopeful, like if something good happens, you're like, maybe everything will be great. Like there's a part of you that says, don't do that. Don't do that. You're just going to get hurt. Being hopeful about future happiness is not just like, walking around waiting for somebody to like, punch you in the stomach. It's not. You're not at the whim of other people any longer. You're not. And happiness is not a risk. You've experienced happiness that risked you, that put you in like the sights of somebody that just, they've just got that energy of somebody who punishes others. Like somebody who takes their moods out on other people. you would never allow anybody in your life for any length of time who did that ever again. The shield, I told you, it's like you're walking around with a shield. You are safe from harm. The key, locked doors can now be opened. And then we have strength and wisdom, the dragon. If somebody tried to rain on your parade now, like, you just would leave them behind. You would recognize them as a poisonous or a toxic person, and you wouldn't continue on a path with them. The message is coming through from your higher self, from your future self, from the part of you that doesn't just see this point in time, but exists at a point in the future when all of this has already happened. Things have transformed, and happiness is yours once again, and it is coming. It is coming. And if you're like, well, why isn't it here yet? This is part of the reason it's not here yet. Is you react with a self-protective energy that dampens your own happiness to try and mitigate pain. Because you expect, like, blows from above to rain down all of the time. Your past injuries were caused by people exploiting your own emotional injuries and damage. It is not the nature of life. I have health. Something around your health and food again, sunshine. I never read these particular paragraphs below. Well, I seldom do, because they rarely have validity. Twists and turns, tough and trying times. Future. Burnout, which is a card of taking care of your health and communication. That sunshine, which is all about positivity, and like I said, it's when something good happens, you try to temper your enthusiasm. You try to hold back on things. You try to be like, your idea of being, like, you know, a stabilizing voice in your own life is to be like, no, come on, remember, it might not happen now. Don't invest too much in this. It might not be it. You're not thinking of it this way, but, like, you've become this person from the past. The person who, like, always, like, lets the air out of the balloon. The person who, like, you're in a good mood, and you've actually taken on that person's role in your own head. And you're not thinking of it that way. You're thinking like you learned a lesson that is not a lesson. It's a trauma response. When you feel happy, just be happy. And if it doesn't work out, like, you'll deal with it at the time. But you're, like, bringing on the not letting it, like, you're bringing on the feeling by trying to guard against it. Like, every time you get really happy, like, you try and you think you're managing your expectations, and you're lowering them. Spirit of place, wishing well. You have listening. Unexpected visitors. That's something, okay. And then mountain, which is obstacles. You're very guarded against connection. And you've accidentally, your higher self is just telling you, hey, remember all that work you did to heal from this relationship in the past? The rule of everything spoiler is a little bit being played by you. And how do you overcome that? By talking to yourself appropriately. Tell yourself it is safe to have hope for the future. That you soon will be, everything will transform, and you'll be shouting to the heavens with happiness. Except that there is no true peril in happiness. There isn't, because in order to avoid the letdown of when you're no longer have that thing that is making you happy, you're rushing to it to try and be self-protective. And that is not actually protecting you. It is taking away the happiness when there's no true reason to. Remember, there are ups and downs and ebbs and flows. Negative emotions have as much to offer us sometimes as positive emotions do. But please quit putting out your own spark of hope by tempering it with, be careful, you might be disappointed. Sometimes we will be disappointed in life. what you learn to do is to fulfill the role of your prior everything spoiler by becoming that person. It's like you learned a lesson about how it isn't safe to be happy. If you went through a lot of trauma healing, remember that does hurt, but it doesn't hurt forever. Please don't carry forward the idea that it is never safe to be happy. It is always best to like manage your expectations by like not getting too hopeful about things. Have hope, believe in life, believe in love, look for the joy in everything. And if something good happens, don't tell yourself it might not come to nothing. Instead, tell yourself, oh, look, another sign that everything is working out. And it might not be the very thing that is bringing you everything, but it's yet another clue. But because you're like always trying to avoid pain of disappointment, it's not internal. It really came from an external source that you learned to temper your own happiness for emotional safety. All right, so group number 2, that was the message from your higher self, from your future self. Please try to relax and find the ability simply to believe that all beautiful things are possible and happening, and your future self is saying they're there in your life, and they will get there. Your future self becomes your present self when you accept that happiness is not truly a risk. It is a state of being that sometimes we can only inhabit for short periods of time, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And a belief in all things eventually working out versus this might not work out, so I won't get too hopeful. Let yourself have hope again. It's like your future self misses you and has, like, the warning is don't surrender that part of yourself to the person who tried to diminish your light. All right, that was your message. Take care. Be well. I don't know if I'm using any of this. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 3, then this is your reading, putting the number 3 over there so people can easily fast forward to their readings, but there are timestamps in the description box down below. The Mystical Moments Tarot is bringing us a predictive spread. We've got some pre-selected oracle cards. This is advice from future you, advice from your higher self. Let's see what they're saying before I get started. Hey, please don't forget to subscribe. It helps my channel. If you like the reading, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to book me for a private reading, there's a link to my website in the description box down below. The Gift. Interesting. And then I have Heliconia, which is realization. The answer is here. Take heed. So receiving of something is in your future. And there's likely this is going to be advice around how to be more receptive to something. Sorry, I had to stop the recording for just a second because my dog began scratching obsessively at the floor. Miracles. Expect the wondrous to emerge. Basically, so far, the advice is that no matter what ground you're standing on right now, remember it's not permanent. Like, there is increase, there is more coming to you, there is this bounty that is trying to come into your life. The answer is here. Take heed. And then I have purity, okay? When you are working towards your highest self, when you are trying to be in conjunction with the best version of yourself that you can be, where you leave behind your darker impulses, you get control of your shadow self, the more and more can come to you through all forms of divine blessing and divine connection. It's almost like pile number 3 so far is your higher self is trying to urge you to make more effort to be connected to the divine source, because it's like you don't feel the divine energy yet. You will be. Things are coming to you, and it looks like it's inspire others. And then I have blue tit, which is find your voice and free your spirit. This is the bird messages. Find your voice and free your spirit, and then inspire others with the gift. This is also one of the things your higher self is advising you to do is quite simply to be like more giving yourself. If you're working in a field that involves like the esoteric arts, if you're a healer, if you're like, just make sure you're not motivated by the idea of security, stability, increase, wealth, that kind of thing. Simply because you will feel more in flow when, you know, everybody deserves to like have the lifestyle that they want. It's not that the divine would ever in any way begrudge you like having all of your needs met and exceeded. You're not being begrudged nicety and luxury. Just kind of like a little bit of a rehab around how you view what you do is one of the things that will help you as well. The purity is always trying to kind of clean up your chakras, be in flow. Find your voice and free your spirit with inspire others. And the gift with miracles. Let's see what we've got here. Realization. I don't have a firm handle on what this is trying to tell you yet. Justice in reverse, being slightly out of balance, an unbalanced view. Two of Wands in the upright. The world is your oyster. That's the crossroads energy. It is choosing the path that you will walk on. You're being reminded, and you've had this as a reminder before, is because of a need for security, you always have to keep a slight, like you have to keep that, your fear makes you money motivated too often. Is basically what this is saying. It's not calling you greedy. It's not saying you do things for the wrong reasons. It's just that, remember, that's blocking out a greater feeling of connection to the divine. The Six of Cups in reverse. I have the Eight of Cups in reverse. That's a return to self as well after a spiritual journey. The Six of Cups in reverse is one of the cards for healing childhood issues, for healing formative damage, and for inner child healing. I have the King of Wands in reverse. That's needing to get a handle on impulse control. You get compulsive around things. You have a hard time. You're not an ungenerous person. You're not being told that you lack generosity. It's that miracles will come to you more freely when you view everything that you can do in this world, no matter what field that you work in, as a divine gift working through you. That like the attributes and the skills that you have come to you not just through you as the vessel that brings them to be, but they come as a gift to this world as well. To try and relax around the idea that what you are offering into this world, and you can be like a grocery store clerk bagger and still be offering a gift to the world, depending on the attitude in which you approach it and what you give to others and the energy that you are doing. Try and do things gladly and as if there is like a miraculous nature to absolutely every aspect of life, because there is. We only make things mundane by viewing them as being mundane. I have the Moon in reverse, which is clarity. I have the Knight of Pentacles in the upright. It is a work thing with the World in the upright, and we're taking 9, the Empress in the upright, which is like the love of life, the feminine divine. We took 9 because it's the number of like individuality and independence and self and a nearly complete cycle. There's more coming into your life. One of the things you're being told by your higher self, your future self, is to remember that you actually have everything you truly need. Don't focus, not having everything you desire is not the same thing as not having what you need. That if you're being denied some of the things that you think, or you think you're being denied some of the things that you think would make you happier, everything's coming. Like everything's coming at the pace it's meant to. And you get a little bit hyper-focused on the 3D aspects, and you're being asked to make a little bit more effort into viewing this as a spiritual journey rather than I do the things I'm meant to in the 3D, I fulfill the responsibilities that I'm meant to, and then like in my off time I try and connect to divine source. And you're being asked to remember that it's all one journey. That like we're not compartmentalizing things that way. That your need for physical security in the form of like, I need this much in the bank, I need that much in like, you know, I need these stocks, I need this house, I need this. You have everything you need. You're talking about what you would like to have in order to feel loved and blessed by the divine. All of those things are coming to you, and one of the things that will help increase that flow is if you remember every single moment of your life on this purposeful journey is influenced and inspired by the divine. You're not doing things separately, like first I'll go and take care of this, and then I will go meditate and I will be connected to the divine. Even as you're like doing the chores of like this world, completing the tasks, there's more available to you than you think of it as being. I have the devil. Take care immediately to avoid temptation and deceit. That's also a card of like, it can be a card of greed. And it's weird. I'm not getting a greed energy, but like you try not to, because you know it's fear-based. You know it's the need to feel more secure, and like intellectually you have accepted that there is no number in a bank that will make you feel secure. That you understand that is a feeling that comes from within, understanding that you can meet your challenges, that you have a belief in self, that you are connected to the divine, and that when you are connected to the divine, everything will flow to you. And like you have all of that on an intellectual level, but like there's this fear-based underlying issue that is, you still need to work on just a little bit, the purity of intent with the gift. Everything that you can do, be careful who you trust at this time. And then I have the world, be open to new possibilities in all areas of your life. So we've got two cards about temptation and deceit, and then being careful who you trust at this time and being open to new possibilities, with multiple reminders. The message from your higher self, from your future self, is just be careful. This crossroads energy, particularly as more comes to you, like it's backsliding is a possibility. Like this is doing things for the wrong reasons, taking actions sometime in an ill-considered manner. Something's going on in the greater world that makes it a little bit easier to backslide into an unbalanced state in which you work too much and you neglect your personal life and you try to seek security in, numbers in a bank account. And as that happens, you're simply going to have to be checking in with self and trying to connect to the divine. And your higher self and your future self is trying to tell you what is coming will be so much more comfortable. The Empress loves life. The Empress can indulge self as well. There is more coming to you in terms of being able to indulge yourself. Be careful with your choices around that, and like kind of stay consciously on the path of I'm connected to the divine. This past deprivation does something to you. Find your voice and free your spirit. Everything that I get this weird duality, and I don't know how else to put it, but it's like you're able to view a spiritual journey in both this like way too practical, hi ho, this is the work I'm meant to do when I'm here energy. It's almost like you've taken a spiritual journey and turned it into this mundane thing. Like I go through these motions to achieve this result. You have a point A to point B to point C energy around like a methodical approach to your connection to self and to spirit and to the divine. Your future self is saying, listen, more's coming to you, and because you always stand kind of on the cusp of focusing to the exclusion of, it's very hard. It feeds a need within you when things increase, and you start focusing on it. And you've probably noticed that. If you're in any type of sole proprietorship or anything, like when money gets flowing in easily, you're never in a relaxed state about it. Like you're always like, you start focusing on it as soon as it's there. Because like that's how you're viewing evidence of being on a divine journey. And remember, every single moment of your life outside of remember, a purpose is not a profession. And a profession is not a purpose. Your purpose involves and encompasses your whole life, not just that for which you are paid. Every single moment of your life is an opportunity to be very connected to divine self and to be guided by the idea that there is beauty in a journey, and there is beauty in challenge, and that there is beauty in existence. And your future self is just kind of telling you, listen, more's coming in. And because of inspire others and find your voice, you have a gift to give to other people, and you just always stand on the precipice of turning in the wrong direction as to why. And it's not because you're a greedy human. It's because something happened that taught you, like, I don't know if you had a parent or a caretaker who had a very troubled relationship to money. Like if you were maybe had that patterning imprinted on you, your higher self and your future self is just saying, please breathe deep and try. This is not, because whenever you hear stuff like this, you're like, please, I can't be poor. It's too frightening to me. You're not going to be poor. You're not. You don't have to think that that is like the thing that you're fending off. And as more comes to you, believe it or not, that fear goes deeper rather than is alleviated. Because as soon as you get a flow coming to you, you start concentrating on that money flow. And you kind of don't think of it that way. We have let your intentions be known, purity, inspire others, find your voice. Your intentions are going to be the thing that determines the quality of your divine experience. And you're very invested in that. Like you want to be. You want there to be more to this like world than plodding through responsibilities, but you can't help it. And you really, it's not that you're greedy. It's that you are defining safety via like funds, and just be a little careful of that. I have beware who you trust. That's the second warning on that. Seduction, passion, and romance await with love, true love and fidelity. Okay, be careful. Just be careful around trusting new people. Extend trust appropriately. I don't have a trickster energy here. I don't have it like attached to a particular person. The King of Wands in reverse can be somebody who's misusing their passion. Like kind of keep an eye out for players in your forward journey as well. Like on a healing journey, you will be given multiple opportunities to explore the ways in which you've healed. So be aware of that. But mostly the advice that is coming through is that without ancestors and healing, apparently your Sacred Heart has undone the ties that bind. That's about breaking ancestral curses. And it's weird. It's not precisely poverty that I'm picking up as the ancestral curse, but rather a hyper focus on money as being the thing that can secure safety and therefore happiness. And it isn't that you're actually struggling that much. It's that almost as soon as you have influx, you don't realize this, but you focus on it as the thing that makes you feel better. And it's supposed to be your connection to the divine, and it's just a very, very slight tweaking of that. Please understand you are not being scolded, insulted, or told that you're doing something wrong. Rather, that your ability to connect and feel and flow and be informed and warned about whatever this is, the deceit and beware who you trust. And then you've got another warning around it here as well. Let your intentions be known. Keep to a pure intention. If you have to remind yourself every single day that although it is wonderful to feel secure and to feel that you have plenty, your real journey is about connecting your 3D self to your divine self and learning how to live in that kind of harmonious energy where you're connected and inspired. Your 3D self is inspired by your divine self, by the highest good, by the part of you that is closest to the divine. And it is not so much that money and opulence and luxury guide you away from that, but rather that because you still have a fear-based energy around it, is that you just backslide a little bit whenever money gets involved. And you're just being asked to try and tap in and tune in and to remember your connection to source, your connection to the divine is not something that you just undertake when you are meditating or when you're doing spiritual work or when you're candle gazing or whatever it might be that you do to try and feel truly connected. It is present at every single moment of every single day. I have humor. I choose to focus on the lighter side of life. When you are fearful, remember, actually, humor is one of the best ways to defeat fear. It just is, because fear does not withstand laughing very easily. Kind of work with loving the part of you that is fearful, but being able to tease it. That's what's trying to free you from this old energy of insecurity and fear, is kind of joking around with that part of yourself. Because if you're really I'm just using the example of somebody who might own their own business. If you have a week where you have $3,000 worth of sales, you really start focusing on that, where if next week I don't have $3,000 worth of sales, I'm backsliding and I'm not doing as well. There is going to be a back and forth flow on things. And the flow will come more easily. Your connection to the divine will be more readily apparent if you are able to view it as things come to me as they are meant to, and I'm not meant to focus on this. And the reason I keep getting this, stuttering energy around that influx is not because I won't have enough, but because that I'm being asked to learn how to trust more than I do. That it's all this, because you don't think of it this way, but it's actually about not being able to trust yourself. It's a strange energy I have here of you both, fear just came up because I've been having to poke my dog Oscar to get him to quit scratching on the floor. I've got humor and fear, and again, humor is one of the ways to take out fear. But what I was trying to say is that it's the strangest thing, but as soon as the very thing that you are hoping will happen to ease your fears starts happening, it exacerbates them. And the easiest way to do that is to try and have a humorous approach to that. Self-effacing humor can be the opposite of self-love, because it's all about laughing at your own stuff in a way that's derogatory. But having humor about self is a different thing. Is just kind of laughing at the idea that you were programmed to believe something, and laughing at the idea that this is a test. You kind of take it, we've got self-esteem, you kind of take it as part of the journey and part of the test, and something that you gladly lean into. Doubt, and then I have relationships as well. You have a little bit of a warning around relationships. I don't know what your love life is like at the present time. When you backslide like that and you go into what feels like an OCD type of spiral, that's kind of what it feels like, is that you have a slight OCD energy around money. It's not greed. It's not greed. It's just that you hyper focus on it when things get better. It's the strangest thing. It's almost like when things are building, you can be okay, it's not time yet, it's not time yet. Everything takes time, life's a process. You can get into that energy and you have very good intent then, but almost as soon as things start happening, you don't understand it's a shadow element and a shadow aspect of you that makes you start really looking at balances and things when there's increase. The message from your higher self is that this is not an area that you need to be fearful in. You don't. But that it makes you susceptible to not only your lower self and the part of you that you've been trying to heal and part of you that you've been trying to overcome, but you've got multiple warnings about being careful who you trust. It attracts a form of, I almost want to say, predator back into your life, because you have that devil card as well. Dependency issues are just something that you're going to be fighting with. I don't think it's addiction. I think it's truly dependency. You have this OCD something around safety seeking. And as soon as you don't, I think you actually have a fair amount of disdain for people who are like, you know, just greedy and grasping and gross about it. But by the same token, like there is a part of you that feels so soothed when the flow starts coming in that you like it wakes up a lower aspect of yourself that you have to be very aware of. And again, kind of kind to, kind of viewing affectionately, but also like it's time to put you in timeout, Mr. Miser. Everything's going to be fine. Let things flow. Don't worry about this part. You know what it is, and you don't realize it, is as soon as like money starts coming in, the part of you that wants to know what's happening in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, the part of you that needs all the answers starts waking up. It's like it sparks an OCD spiral for you. And it's because you just never want it to stop when it starts, because you're like, oh, finally I can relax. It's causing you to be the opposite of relaxed. And like nothing's being impeded and the flow isn't being changed by anything. But that's a little bit what we're talking about, is that part of what has been holding you back and what creates the blockages and what creates the stuttering start on some success for you is just quite simply that, you know, listen to your intuition, quite simply that you haven't made that connection yet. You haven't made the connection of ego death. And then dark night of the soul, isolation, unexpected message, past life relationships. You have some weird warning around a relationship as well. But this past life relationship, dark night of the soul, ego death. It's possible that it's an ego issue as well, that without meaning to, you measure the worth of your contributions to this world via a bank account, via how other people view your success. I didn't really get that. What I got is that without realizing it, it really is like this shadow aspect of yourself just like rears awake, and you're motivated by the wrong impulses. You just, all you're being reminded is that that's what's going on. Because I think you have questions around that. I think you have questions around like why does it come in dribs and drabs like this? Why do we have that push and pull energy? And you know that like this whole miracles thing, I think you can kind of look through your life and spot the areas in which it's like, yeah, that felt like it was miraculous, and then that did as well. But like there's this seesaw energy around it. And it's because almost as soon as like the trappings of security come into play, it's that not being able to be connected to the divine throughout every moment of the day. Like you really turn into a 3D version of yourself almost as soon as money's on the table. And it's weird because it's not greedy and it's not grasping. It's just that you're just too, you don't think of it this way, but that's a mistrustful, unconnected energy. When you think all of your answers lie in all of these financial security and physical security. We have declutter, which is one of the energies of letting go. Declutter your life, let go of correspondence, objects, and people you no longer want. Someone will hurt your feelings and reveal a new side to themselves that you may wish to avoid. As I'm always saying with these cards, I almost always just go by this word. The paragraphs below don't have as much validity for me as a reader. Love. Love is in the air, a great time for commitment and taking relationships to the next level. You got multiple warnings around, and then we got sexuality too. This is often a player's energy and future with burnout, which is about being able to be luck as well. Let go of, do the work around it. Just when you catch yourself really, really hyper focusing on the money, the money, the money, the money, the money will make me feel safe. Remember, that's drawing you away from a divine path. And then your future self is also telling you that you have some compulsive energies. You got that devil card, which is one of the cards for codependency, around the need for the appearance of security. And that you accidentally turn away. You accidentally turn away from your higher self whenever money's on the line. And it really isn't that like you wouldn't spare anybody else the time. It's that you are having trouble straddling those two lands, where like, yeah, I like this because this is somebody who likes luxury and indulgence and who really does love life, the Empress. You're just having trouble figuring out a way to like achieve balance. It's just out of balance still. It's just out of balance still. I also have the potential of somebody making you some kind of offer that may not be in conjunction with your highest self, but maybe about gain. And you got multiple beware who you trust energies. If somebody is just kind of sit with things, don't make. If somebody comes to you with a job offer, this is completely like, this is just an example. If somebody comes with you with a job offer that's like twice as much as you've been making, don't just say yes immediately because it's twice as much as you've been making. Figure out how you would feel about that job, how you would feel about the industry that it's in. I don't think this is literal at all. I think it's just the way they're trying to illustrate to you is making sure that the ways in which you are being offered expansion are truly in alignment with the idea of life being a divine purpose as well as a divine path. And the reason that you're getting just so much around that, honest to goodness, it just feels like there's, okay, we have the honoring path, which is again that, being of service to others, inspire others energy. You know that there's some peril in succeeding for you. Like you know that you can get that tunnel vision around success, and you know that it's fear-based, but you're still struggling with recognizing when it has sparked fear and when you get the hyper-focus going, how to detach and how to just remind yourself to be in flow. And honest to goodness, it's like what keeps coming through is like joking with yourself like you would a friend. Like that kind teasing versus, the sniping. Behind a mask, I wish we weren't getting so many of these. Discovery, status quo, victim mentality, oh my goodness, and then optimism with increase. That's what it is. That victim mentality is like a consciousness of pains of the past, overemphasizing them, identifying your life as you backslide into something every time things start going better. And there's no like warning around that. It's not like, so therefore you will be in deprivation and you're going to fall off your path. Everything about like this reading is messages from your future self, which is helping you like avoid what might be coming up, how to help with things rather than keep a good sense of humor about things. Tell yourself there's plenty of time to have everything that you want, and also to remember that like it's not the guarantees in life thing that you like is actually the thing that draws you away from your path. And when you're drawn away from your path, even though you don't want to be that person, you just get too hyper-focused on money. And it's not greed-based, it's fear-based. It's not money for the sake of having money, it's money for the sake of feeling safe. And you keep you safe. You keep you safe. Why is that such an important thing for you to learn? It's because you have to be able to really convey it to other people. Like you have to be able to, in order to really fulfill this purpose of inspiring others and the honoring path and the other energies that came through, you really just have to be able to identify your own pitfalls. So that's like your advice from higher self is like just figure out, constantly be a little vigilant around if you find yourself over-focusing on money, if you find yourself like needing reassurance around money to feel connected to the divine, remember that is the part of you that is furthest from your highest self. It's the part of you that's very fear-based, and fear, of course, being the opposite energy of love, love being the energy of the divine. And then I've got vulnerability. You can be completely open with this person. Second chance, acceptance, retreat, time alone or in nature will help you recharge, and chemistry. I don't think I'm going to get I reached for this deck. It's the messages of love energy, because there's something around a person as well. There was a be careful who you trust, be careful who you trust, simply because as soon as you go back towards that compulsive energy, it creates that weird codependent energy, and it draws the wrong people to you. It draws the wrong people to you. That's why it's something, because I have this feeling that you're listening to this and being like, I genuinely am not greedy. I am not a miser. I do try to chill. I've tried to be relaxed. My goodness, what else can I do? You can really work on the compulsive energy around, like, you know, being a little hyper-vigilant around money. And that's not to say that you need to be irresponsible. It's just like, hear the message around what it inspires and what it sparks. More is coming to you. It's just that as more comes to you, there's a little bit of peril around backsliding into an energy of being dependent on financial aspects for a feeling of safety in this world. And when that happens, it causes a resurgence of codependent energy. And it's not that you're codependent, it's just that you attract the wrong people. When you get into that fear-based thing, that's what attracts predators, is that they can sense that you will react fearfully, and that you're able to be controlled through that. So that's the message from your higher self, is like, everything's coming to you and you kind of know it. And more is coming to you so soon that you're just being given a reminder of why, even if like you suddenly have like buckets of money coming in every darn week, why not focusing on that as being the purpose and the point of what you're doing is always going to be very important for you. Because when you hyper focus on it, when you really start measuring your success through that, it does put you into a fearful energy. And that is something that throughout your life has attracted predators to you. Because at the very base of it, you're not a coward. That's not what I'm saying. You're anxious. That's the thing that has drawn the people who try to take advantage of you to you, is that they can sense at the very root of it that fearful energy. Overcome it within yourself, within humor, love, and self-acceptance. And again, I keep getting this, like, you're very good at, you're good at kindly teasing. Kindly tease yourself around that, to make sure that you're constantly reminding yourself, like, don't go down there. Down there is the place of the fear. We will not choose fear. We will choose love. Whatever it is that you need to be saying to yourself to remind yourself through a time of influx, which is ahead of you, just stay on top of that, because you think that when like all this money starts coming to you, you're like, I will be able to relax. I will have more fun. Then I will be in flow. Then I will be happy. And you are missing what your highest self and your future self is trying to tell you, is that you should be hearing this and saying, oh God, that does make sense. It does make sense. When I have more, the fear of losing it will return. The fear of losing it will return. And you just need to stay on top of that, because it does attract that predator energy. And then like you start not trusting people and yourself again. Okay, group number 3, that was an interesting message. Advice from your future self is to remember to detach from the idea that proof of the divine love is in your bank account. You have plenty coming to you, but there is a reason that you have gotten this message over and over again. And there is a reason that it can seem like everything is starting and then it stops. It's because you don't realize it, but it wakes up your fearful energy almost as soon as you have influx. Work on that and the flow will be steadily maintained. Take care. Be well. Welcome back. If you chose pile number 4, then this is your reading. We're putting number 4 over there so that people can easily fast forward if they want to, but there are timestamps in the description box down below. All right, the Mystical Moments Tarot is bringing us a predictive spread on all of them. I've shuffled a lot off camera. We have some pre-selected oracle cards. Hey, before I get started, please don't forget to subscribe. It helps my channel. If you like the reading, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. If you want to book me for a private reading, there is a link to my website in the description box down below. As usual, by by the time I get to pile number 4, I'm just fascinated by what will come out, because these readings pretty much never turn out the way I think they're going to. Night Ride with the elephants who are all about like being stuck in the mud and listening, and with owls on top of that. So spirit messages are trying to come to you through your dream world. And then we have Jonquil, Power. Take hold of what you know is yours. Let's find out what the message from your future self and your higher self is. Your higher self is someone who exists outside the flow of time, is connected to the divine, is less attached to the idea that like every single second must be like something be happening in it. Your higher self sees things from a greater perspective. So your higher self and your future self are usually very much in it, like your future self possesses knowledge you don't have yet, and so does your higher self. So this is advice from your higher self, your future self. Voyage of the Heart, love flows through you and to you. Allowing more love into your life is, your dreams are trying to talk to you about relationships. Take hold of what you know is yours, and Voyage of the Heart. Nourishment. Lead by example. And then I have Birds of Paradise, display yourself to advantage. This is no time for false modesty. Whew. You have a lot of like personal power cards here. This Nourishment card is like, there's a strange disconnect to your physicality that's coming through on this. And I can be one of the worst offenders around that, and I talk about this like on my channel as well, is just basically like a lot of trauma survivors, like I'm almost view like taking care of you as like another chore, and being very detached from physicality as something that is enjoyable. The Nourishment, like trying to find joy in the idea of satisfying needs and satisfying desires through the idea of food as a celebration. I've just got this kind of like, you've got the same energy I do sometimes around food, which is like, oh God, I must eat. And just trying to find a little more joy in the day-to-day is one of the things. I have the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, which is an anxiety energy. I have the Page of Cups in reverse. I have the Seven of Cups in the upright. The Page of Cups in reverse is interesting to me because it can be like a failure of emotional connection on a journey. The pages get things started. In reverse like that, it can be an apology. And then the Seven of Cups are like, it's one of my casting energies, but it's also a card of like dreams. We've got the dream world over here and the dream world over there. With the King of Swords in the upright, weird, it's like your dream world's haunted by somebody. I have the Eight of Cups in reverse. I have the Page of Pentacles in the upright. The Ten of Swords in the upright. The King of Pentacles in reverse. Page, this is, remember, this particular type of spread, all of the different cards can be used in multiple different ways. This can be underlying issues. There's something that keeps coming to you in your dream world. Your higher self is telling you you're actually being given a way to let go. You're being given a way to let go. That's why you keep having a weird dream, potentially about a past disappointment. Like your dream world might be upsetting right at the moment. It's because you have this detachment, this Nourishment card, this detachment from self sometimes. It's not quite dissociation, but there is this detachment from self energy. And then here's your ninth card, the King of Wands in reverse. So you end this reading with three kings. Kings are about things manifesting. Kings are about things coming into this reality. Remember, the pages get things started, the knights carry them forward. The queens are gestating things, bringing them all the way to fruition, and then the kings are manifesting them. It is a complete energy. you have this strange detachment from physical self. You're a little bit too in your head sometimes, and you've been like being asked to emotionally process through your dream world. The advice from your future self is try to connect more with the idea of life being a pleasurable experience, sensation being a pleasurable thing, food being something that can be, you know, satisfying and indulgent and delicious and like a treat for all senses. And you're very, you're struggling with being grounded, and you're doing a lot of emotional processing in your dream world, trying to release things, because this is about releasing things and having a spiritual enlightenment as well. The tens are complete cycles. The Ten of Swords can be something being done and something new beginning. This Ten of Swords is slightly different than the Ten of Swords in most decks. It's more about dissembling something, taking something apart. And it kind of feels like it is happening in your dream world. Every reader has a different relationship to their cards. For me, this is one of the cards of dreams, things being in the non-material world. We have kindness. When others are callous to me, it says more about them than it does about me. We are all deserving of kindness, and I recognize that this includes myself. So I would be kind to those around me in order to make a more compassionate world. Honest to goodness, like this lead by example, I don't think you're struggling with being kind to others. You're very dismissive of you. Like you're just in this very intellectual place about life. And your dream world brings you these upsetting things, trying to connect you back to the idea that this is an emotional journey. I have acceptance. To have total acceptance of others, I must first gain full acceptance of myself. So I allow myself to live as me, not how I want others to perceive me. Nothing I do is upsetting, embarrassing, or intolerable. I am simply me, and that is good enough. You have trouble not living in the spiritual world. Like there's this need to detach from the physical self kind of a lot. Energized. Each and every morning I wake up with vitality, ready to live my life to the fullest. This energy is becoming of me, and I notice how beneficial it is to my present moment. When tired, I will simply rest and then keep moving forward. Group number 4, I'm not sure why this is, but like with this King of Pentacles in reverse, this Queen of Pentacles in reverse, it's like the thing that you're most struggling with, and the thing that's coming through as a message from a future version of you, is that things will go more easily when you're a little bit more connected to the enjoyment of physical life. Like you don't like to have inconvenient emotions. You have reached a level of intellectual detachment in order to soften the blow, is what just came through. Soften the blow of, like, that's how you've learned to be self-protective. What's the advice on how to help with this? Page of Pentacles. It's almost like you're there's this like ill-conceived idea of how to disconnect from the ego in this, in which, you know how people like, you know, have these very extreme experiences around fasting for meditating, that like this denial of physical self causes a greater a connection to spirituality. It can, but in the long run, we need a state of balance. These keep showing up as balancing energies. Seduction, passion, and romance await. Love, true love, and fidelity. Locked doors will now be open. Honor and good luck. You know, passion and a love of life, true love and fidelity. Boy, there's so much mental energy around this. So what's the advice about how to change that? Try to find things that you can interact with that you do like. It's okay if you're not like, there's nothing I can do that would like really like change my relationship to food at this particular point in my life. But what I can do is really like revel in things that I love, like, oh, I love that smell. I love this texture. I love like in order to like really connect physicality to me, because like food is just not gonna do it for me. And like it's not that I hate food, it's just it's not as important to me as it is to like, I don't view it as gathering with friends and celebrations. And I had food insecurity as a kid and a whole bunch of other things. Food's just a problematic thing for me. And so to connect more with the 3D self, to make sure that I'm loving all aspects of this life, which is what this is saying, I kind of have to get a little inventive around it. Like making sure that I wear fabrics that feel really good. Making sure that my home smells really good as well. All the things that make me connect to the 3D in viewing this as a anchoring experience, something I can invest in. You struggle with being just a teeny bit too detached. And so like sometimes your dream world apparently tries to bring these earthy experiences to you. And I think it's just a little bit of chaos in there sometimes. Like I think you can wake up kind of tired from going to sleep versus energized. And if you can accept that what the message of those dreams is and what your higher self is trying to let you know and your future self is, it's okay if the way that you have lust for life is not expressed in the same way as others. But you need to find a way to have lust for a physical experience. And lust, I don't mean like sexuality, I mean enjoyment and passion and investment. Investment in this experience. Whenever I'm talking about my weird relationship to food, it really is like that's something a lot of people really find incredibly pleasurable. And like I just can't. like there's very few things that like, really, like for me, eating is mostly a chore. Trying to connect through this in this physical world through other things that I find physically comfortable has been the way that I've worked around that. Find a workaround. Find a workaround. If you don't want to work out, then like, making sure that you go sit in nice gardens where there's a good breeze. There's something here where mainly everything that's trying to come to you is more enjoyment. But you keep trying to detach from the idea because enjoyment has turned, I think, to pain too much. We have freedom. You can't sell today's paper off of yesterday's news. Oh, stalker. And then I have gossip. And then I have hell no. Huh. You have the freedom energy and freedom, stalker, gossip, hell no. This tendency to not invest in life as an experience is self-protective in a way that denies you things. I don't think you have a stalker. I don't have anything here that suggests that. But it is almost like, a stalker is somebody who's watching from the outside. You're living life at a little bit of a remove. And this nourishment and power, and then this is an interesting message, and I'm very clearly struggling with how to convey it in a way that like gives you actionable advice. And it's because it's going to differ so much for everybody. Finding something that makes you glad that you have a physical body that can feel things is an important thing. Again, even if it's just like, okay, well, I don't like it. Maybe I like the smell of flowers. Something that attaches you to the idea of this physical life being enjoyable. is just what you're being asked to put some work in on. And whatever it is that, like, if you don't like the things that other people like, then find the thing that, like, if it's bubble baths or, like, you know, really good smelling bath washes or whatever it is that connects you to your earthly senses. Because that's what's causing a little bit of a hold up on a couple of things. Is you live in your head. And I've gotten this message for group number 4 so often. Doubt. I release the need to know all the answers, relationships, and grief with empathy and purpose. Well, this is also the group number 4 energy. And why does it repeat like that? Because we're a healers collective. And so, like, we all are, this is being ruled by this mental energy. It keeps you from investing emotionally. The past pains keep you from investing emotionally in connection with others and sometimes with connection with self. And if what I'm picking up where, like, you also just struggle with, like, attachment to the physical world sometimes, in enjoying the idea that I am alive and I have sensation. Find what gives you pleasure in being alive, to try and, like, get rid of whatever is coming through in your dream world that, like, I think it keeps coming back over and over again. And you just kind of don't, it's like, why am I still dreaming about that? Why can't I just let go? It's because it's not that you haven't let go of that. It's that it exists in this like 3D corporeal, it exists in your mental space. And you're simply not, when I talk about grounding, it is also attachment to the idea that life is to be experienced and enjoyed, not just gotten through. And I don't have a ton of trauma cards. This is a trauma card. But what I have is, like, a person who, like, you've got this very steady emotional influence, but you're a little muted in a bunch of areas around the idea of life being this great big, like, wee. And in order to, like, keep yourself safe from, like, it looks like relationships have just been something that were not a thriving thing for you. And remember, it is not about needing to have a romantic partner or needing to have close friends, or it's not about forcing any issues. Once again, like, whenever I start filming one of these, like, a squadron flies overhead, they're almost gone. It's not about forcing yourself to have relationships or experiences that you don't want to. It's about trying to find a way to want and desire this life. Like, this zest for life, this lust for life, this passionate investment in life. It's just, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. And I'm not sure if it's, like, low-lying depression and anxiety. I kind of don't think it is. And I like, if that has been part of your path, I feel like it's in the past. And, like, the message is very, even the messages I'm receiving right now, it's having trouble coming through in an actionable sense in the 3D. Meaning that, like, you're just being asked to please, if you need to ground every single moment where you're like, every 10 minutes I'm envisioning roots coming out of the bottom of my feet and winding down into the earth. Something is holding up a healing journey, and it's because you have reached a point of things don't really hurt, but it's also this weird energy of things just not registering. And you've got this weird off the hook energy in your dream space, and this energized and acceptance, kindness, being kind to yourself, enjoying your life, indulging yourself appropriately in a way that, like, whatever it might take to just treat yourself as, I am experiencing this physical world as a treat, rather than the escape into your own world. This is your own world. This is your own world. It's not your safe zone. It's your limiting zone. I hope that makes sense. I have movement. Follow the leader. You've got multiple leadership energies as well. We have rock bottom with one ring circus, details, details, and stuck in the mud. It's almost the exact same image. I'm trying with all my might to think of examples and of suggestions that would help break free of this energy of trying to attach in a world that tells you, like, detach from outcomes, don't have attachment to outcomes. That is different from being detached from this life experience. Try to invest in. One of the jokes I'm always making about how people try to transcend this experience, and I'm like, get your butt back down here, we have work to do. Also, like, there's all the time and eternity to not have a physical body and not have a physical experience. Don't rush towards it. Don't try to detach from the idea that there is sensation and acuteness in this world. That the acute quality of some of these things that were felt in the past, the thing that might have you turning away from greater connection because it did not prove worth it in the past. You do not have to connect with anybody that you don't want to, but connect to the idea that life is pleasurable. That, like, having a physical body and, like, find something to take pleasure in. Just the only place that you do that is, like, you go into your own head. You go into your own head. And there's nothing wrong with, like, living in your head. But just you're doing it so much that your future self is trying to tell you it's going to get worse unless you try to make it better. I guess that's what's really here, is reassessment, unfounded fear, loss issues, new opportunities, leave past behind, transformation, I want one more soulmate. Soulmates can be friends, soulmates can be kindred spirits, soulmates can also be romantic partners. I've got this strange energy of really putting in work on, like, even if it's like, you know, I cook myself dinner and it takes 3 hours on the weekend, just to try and really be engaged with something that is very physical and rooted in this world. And it's quite simply because, for whatever reason, you have a level of emotional detachment that you need to overcome in order to be the leader that you need to. Like, it's almost, I'm not going to say it's giving you an ivory tower energy, but a little bit. Like, you've detached from things enough in your life, and there's this love energy over and over again. This detachment that you have achieved to try and keep yourself, because you're not in pain. You're confused and drained sometimes, I think, by your dream world. It's not that you're in pain, it's that you're not associating, like, how that really is related to why you're so detached. It's like you didn't reconnect your nerve endings when you healed the wound. And you're being asked to put a little bit of work in it. The whole, you know, advice from your future self is you will enjoy this experience more if you listen to this advice. And it's the strangest thing, because, like, the future self that I'm getting, remember, there are multiple futures ahead of us. There just are. They're comprised of our choices. And this more earthy energy, the message that I'm getting is that, if anything, like, you detach more and more and more and more and more. And it makes you a less effective leader going forward, because you start detaching from other human beings when you do that. Like as you become less and less like, oh, I just won't, tune into these physical concerns, these earthly concerns. It's the strangest darn thing, but it's like you're losing your ability to have true empathy with other people's struggles. And you're a very empathetic person, but it's almost like you're a hot air balloon that needs to have more ballast put on. And whatever it takes for you, whatever connecting thing that you need to do, whether it's like, I go swimming at the pool so that I can feel like water on my skin and the sensation of that, it's something around really detaching too much from the idea that life is meant to be felt. Like it's almost like you've got this life is meant to be overcome energy, and you do this great job. Like you provide something for other people, but you're getting a little bit too, like don't rise too far above things. Like your empathy with other people's pain is part of what has made you good as an effective leader. We have destined, inner child healing, closure, healing old wounds, and then new love. New love, by the way, new relationships, you got that as well. When we talk about things being destined, like what if like you have a divine pairing and like this person shows up and you're like, yeah, no, I'm taking a pass because like that just did not prove to be the right path for me. What happens? Well, kind of nothing. You have the opportunity to have something and you decide against it. Even if it's a destined pairing, you still have like the right to say no to things. Will it limit your experience though? Yes. And that's the message that you're getting from your higher self, from your future self, is please give a little bit of thought to whether or not you're accidentally limiting your experience more than you mean to. In the work that you are, in the healing work that you did where you learned to overcome your pain, it is like your hot air balloon that is just a little bit too far above the ground at this particular point. The nourishment is like this enjoyment of life, this celebration of texture and sensation and everything grounding. And whatever it takes for you to do that, whether it's listening to music that you love and dancing around, or just kind of getting back in your body because you just get a little bit too much in your head. And over the course of time, it will cause you to be at more and more of a remove from people. And eventually, it diminishes the impact that you have on people. All right, we have the elk and ash, strength, and then I have one more on this. The owl and hop, wisdom. We've got owls are about wisdom. Strength and wisdom. Your desire to not get hurt again is, I apologize, but your desire to not get hurt again is a form of something that you would like to make stronger. And is that the same thing as saying it's a weakness? It's a detracting factor in your experience right now. It's a detracting factor. Life is not meant to be led trying to ward off something. And that's what your detachment from the physical world is a little bit. It's great that you love to read and like escapist stuff, and it doesn't look like any of it's destructive, but don't detach so much from a life that is only something about what you do means that connecting to other people's desires and understanding them is key to the type of achievement that you are meant to accomplish within your purpose. And so if you feel like you've just gotten this message over and over and over again, you're like, I just, please quit telling me to be a different person than I am. That's not what you're being told. You're being told to really make sure that this is not a choice on your part to try and desensitize yourself, that your detachment is not actually part of your spirituality, but part of seeking emotional safety through insensibility. Okay? Well, that was an interesting one. Group number 4, the advice from your higher self and from your future self is quite simply, please put a little bit of work in on like attaching more to, this is one of the first ones, attaching more to outcomes? No, not truly attaching more to outcomes, but attaching more to this experience as being meant to cause sensation. Because the future self that's coming through right now is that you're likely not to. And it's just a little bit of a, take a soft right, not a hard right, take a soft right towards inviting more sensation into your life. Simply because it will keep you in a more vibrant and purposeful energy. And if a part of you hears that and is like, yeah, no thanks, I feel better this way. No, you don't. You just feel less. And that's not the goal. Okay? All right, so group number 3, that was your group number 4, that was your message. Take care. Be well.